If you are single and tired of trying to navigate these dating streets, then be sure to tune into the Business of Dating live series and podcast, where yours truly, Tamika Michelle Johnson, aka the Matchmaking Attorney, will be joined by guests as we talk about how to date the right way as a successful professional in the 21st century. Join us live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube, or catch the replay. And to reach us, simply visit thematchmakingattorney.com. See you soon. Hello. Welcome, everyone. It is 8 o'clock on Wednesday. This is the premiere series of the Business of Dating. Super excited to be here. This has been a long time in the making. If you don't know me already, you haven't come across me, haven't gone to the website, checked out my profile, I am Tamika Michelle Johnson, aka the Matchmaking Attorney. I am an attorney, also the CEO of Platinum Connections, which is a matchmaking agency, and a publisher of Platinum Magazine, where I kind of mesh both of those things that I'm doing professionally: the legal, business, entrepreneurship, health, wealth, and relationships, of course. And the reason I started Platinum Connections in the first place was because, as an attorney, as a professional woman, as a professional Black woman, I found that the more educated I became, the more successful I became, the more challenging dating and relationships was. And that is the sentiment that I get from so many women. So we are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about on the business of dating. We are going to be joined by a special guest today. I'm super excited to have him come on. If you want to know more about Platinum Connections, what we do, if you want a better dating experience, I mean, you're just tired of just meeting people randomly out on the streets, not knowing where they are, if they're serious, if they have a criminal background check, all that stuff, check us out. Visit the website, thematchmakingattorney.com, schedule a session. We will let you know all about the process, the prospects, and the pricing to get you closer to your happily ever after with a compatible mate based on your values. So I am going to bring in our guest, and here we go. This is Mr. Marvin Wayne. So first, I have to introduce him. Before I start, if you join and you want to join us live on video, there is the link in the comments. If you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, copy that link, join us in the studio, and I'll let you on. You can give us your feedback from there. So I want to introduce Marvin Wayne. He is first and foremost, he is our new director of client relations at Platinum Connections. So if you do, come on, wave to the camera and say hey. If you do schedule a session, you may speak with me, you may speak with him. He may be the person that finds you your next partner, your mate. So definitely check us out. Again, the website is on the bottom. We are going to be talking about why so many professional Black men are single. And I'm excited to have Marvin on here because he is, I say, middle-aged, mature-aged right now. He's been dating all his adult life. He has 2 children, but despite dating and having kids, he has never married. So we're going to delve into why so many professional Black men are single. So if you looked at one of the descriptions on the post, I gave a scenario, ladies, right? A scenario is you're out and about, you're at a gas station, you're at the gym, wherever, just running your errands, and you come across a guy, right? Nicely dressed, kind of casual, kind of stylish, has a little swag, and all of that. And you're like, okay, like nice guy, right? You exchange numbers, you go out, see him the next day at lunch, he's all suited. You're like, okay, good. Like, he's got a job, he's looking good, all that. You're getting along, and then one or two things happens, right? Either one, you get intimate, probably a little bit premature, and then he starts acting funny, or you're intimate, everything's okay, everything's good, you're vibing, and you have that discussion. It's been about a month or two, right? 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You're like, okay, where's this going? What are we? What is this? And then he starts acting funny again. You don't know like what's going on. And a lot of times he just ends up ghosting you. So we're going to talk to Marvin and see what all of that is about. Again, delving into why so many professional Black men are single. I do want to hit you with a quick stat. Before we start, 30% of Black Americans are unmarried. That's compared to 48% of all other Americans. So what I want to discuss, what I want us to get into, what I want all of us to really think about is why that number is so staggering. 70% of Black Americans are unmarried. And it used to be that way. There are social reasons, there are systematic reasons, but today we're going to talk about the social reasons why that may be happening. So, with all that, Marvin, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be a great discussion. So, yeah, you are middle age, mature age, as I say, 2 kids. So we'll just start off. What do you think is one of the main reasons or a common reason why many successful women, because I work with a lot of successful women, 6 figures, 7 figures, are just doing well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why successful Black women have challenges in dating and relationships, in your opinion?
I mean, there's a myriad of reasons in regards to Black men today. You're looking at, you have education, you have employment, you have incarceration, you have just different aspects of the things that today's Black women are actually, or what you call the modern day women that are actually, they have their criteria, which, a lot of women today that are successful, as you just mentioned, they don't feel like they need to settle. They want what they want, and that's the only thing they will settle for. Whether it be the guy that's 6'2", you know, chiseled body, 6 figures, you name it. And they feel like they deserve that because they worked hard and sacrificed to get to the point where they should get what they want. And respectfully, I definitely understand that. But when it comes to the Black men of today and, the actual pickings that a lot of Black women, have, it seems like they're slim, right? Because you have a situation right now where you have educational wise, most Black women are more educated than the Black men of today, right? The stats shows that, when it comes to something, like your bachelor's degree, you're looking at the fact that 2/3 of all African-American bachelor's degree, are owned by women compared to Black men. 70% of all master's degree and more than 6% of all doctorates, Black women also hold the majority, of all the African-American enrollments in law school, medical school, and also dental school. So women, they are pursuing the security, they're pursuing the bag. They also, are encouraged to ensure that they're self-reliant. And, I could definitely understand that based on the history and based on, knowing that at the end of the day, they will be able to sustain themselves without needing a man. So that plays a part as well into the fact that, a woman wants to ensure that she has security and she doesn't want to be in a situation where I guess she, have to hold the burden of being the financier of the relationship, and that's very understandable and that's to be respected as well. So the situation in which us men are not necessarily, as I hear a lot of women say, they like to use men are not men anymore. That's what they say, because we're not up to the standard in which they feel we should be based on where they are. And we are speaking about the successful Black women. So I believe there's disparity in regards to where a lot of these successful women are, and there are very, very few Black men that may be, at the level in which they feel they should have a lot more to choose from. So that's one aspect of it.
Okay,
But
so
before
you're saying that women say men are not men anymore. What do you mean by that? Or what do you think that women mean when they say that?
financial, it's all strictly
Okay.
financial, because you look at a situation where back in the day, right? The one thing that's different now than was back in the day was the fact that women are actually earning more. You guys are doing extremely well when it comes to just being able to, provide your compensation, your just ability to do everything independently, purchase your home, purchase your car, have everything you need from a surface, tangible standpoint. However, when it comes to men, we still, offer the same things as far as being able to, hold it down from a standpoint of, you know, handyman, the things that where I think of for a lot of women right now doesn't really matter because finance tend to be the number one, thing they look for because they want to be equally yoked, as they say, in regards to, standing on the same ground. They don't want to have to feel they have to, they have to be the burden as far as, finance the relationship. So that's what I feel at the end of the day, no matter which way you may try to, put it, that's what the end result is, finances. And which is still the number one reason for divorces today. That hasn't changed. Right.
Mhm.
So it's just for women to have, you know, the ability to actually say, you know what, I am going to go ahead and give this person a chance. I'm not going to look at everything on the surface and base it on that. But it's very difficult for today's women to do that because they feel like they deserve more and they should have what they want.
So, part of it I agree with, some part I disagree with. And I say that because even for me, so when I was still single and I was dating and I had my degree. So yeah, you're gonna meet a lot of men who may not be as educated, they may not make as much money, but at the same time, there are so many women who are definitely okay with dating a man, marrying a man who does not make as much as him. And so one of the biggest things I get, hands down, probably 75% of the time, if I'm, meeting with a woman, doing a consult with them, doing a session with them, one of the things that they say as far as challenges is that men are intimidated by their success, by their financial achievements, by their careers. They say that men are intimidated by them. What is your opinion on the intimidation factor that so many women talk about when it comes to meeting a man who does not make as much money as her?
I don't believe they're telling the full story. I believe that that's what they actually when they're sharing it with others, that's the narrative they choose to actually put out there because what they're not, in my opinion, what they're not telling you is the disposition that they may have in this situation. The aura. Are they actually throwing this consistently in the man's face? Are they do they have a disposition of being that have that alpha female disposition where that's that sensual feminine side may not even exist as it once was because of the fact that they're taking the boardroom to the bedroom. And there's a book out there, The Boardroom to the Bedroom, where a lot of women now, because they've excelled in life, excelled in corporate America, excelled in business, they take it home. They don't turn it off. So a lot of men, could be turned off by that and could respond and react to that in a way where she may say he's intimidated. However, I feel that's not necessarily the case. It's just something that, he may choose not to deal with because it's a disposition she tends to consistently, put out there, and he has to deal with that on a consistent basis. So I don't necessarily that's the case.
Okay. Before we go on to the next question, I see someone in the studio, Shamari, but I don't see a picture. So you can put in the comments. Did you want to come on and give us your take as to why many professional men are single? If you are, just put it in the chat and I'll let you. I just don't see your picture. I didn't know if you wanted to come on live or not. But let's get to just put that in the chat. And if you do, anyone else, if you join, you want to come on, you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can join us as well. So I'm going to give, before I go there, I'm going to give a couple reasons why I think that a lot of professional Black men are single. And my top one is that they're spoiled. Like Black women, we spoil Black men, meaning we don't have principles like we used to. We don't have standards like we used to. And we will give a man almost everything that we have as if we're married, but without the title, without the ring, without the marriage. And so a man doesn't even have to get married. Like what's the point? What's the benefit? What is your take? What's your opinion on that as far as women, us honestly just spoiling a lot of Black men to the point where you don't even have to get married?
Well, okay, so let's look at a stat. So
Nope.
there are 91 Black males per 100 Black females, right? This was research that was done in back in 2012. I'm sure the numbers are a lot different right now. It wasn't the American Fact Finder, just in case you want to pursue that actual source. But so when you have a situation where there are a lot more women than men, you have you have men that's going to all automatically have more options, right? So with more options, you have the fact that they're going to tend to potentially hold off on necessarily commit. In addition to the fact that a lot of women, and the reason why the stats are that way, where there are more women. Number one, women live longer than men. All right. In addition to the fact that a lot of Black men are incarcerated. Okay, and also you have a situation where the likelihood of marriage for a woman tend to be a lot less because of there's so few men to choose from, right? With all those different things involved, incarceration, morbidity, in addition to the fact that you guys live a lot longer. So that aspect of it, when you say that we are spoiled and because we don't, why buy the chicken if you have the egg, something like that?
Right.
Or why buy the
Yeah.
egg that
Why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free?
right, one of the two, yeah, right. So a situation like that, I mean, I don't agree with that, because for every one woman that spoil a Black man, or every one Black woman that spoils a Black man, I think a lot more are not having that experience. Because like we said, more Black women today are independent. They're successful. They're doing their thing financially. They have the ability to do everything on their own. Think about it. You have everything to do everything. What do you need us for when you think about it? If I believe, and any woman that's out there that's even listening to this, if I were to ask what is the value of a Black man, or what's the value of a man, right? I would love to hear a woman really truly go in and explain that, because many women, I've done this social experiment. Very few women could actually articulate that, because they don't see a lot of value in us anymore, because they could do everything themselves. That's an issue in itself right there, right? We're looked upon like as an accessory, if you will, opposed to something of value. So I ask you, and and any other woman that's listening out there, to chime in on this, because I don't think we're valued as we used to be. And a lot of things when it comes to us as Black men, what we deal with on a regular basis in society, I think you forget that as Black women, and just look at it like we are lesser than, because we haven't necessarily achieved as much as you may have. And so you look down upon us from a standpoint of where we are education wise, where we are when it comes to employment, finances. So it's like we get shipped to the side. Hence, you have a lot more Black men now that's going to other ethnicities, right, wrong, or indifferent. But that's where they feel a lot more wanted, desired, and a lot more comfortable. Okay, I'm sure that's another topic for another day. However, that's real. All right. So I hear what you're saying, and in some circumstances that has happened. Yes, spoiled, and he has everything he wants. Why go ahead and commit? Yeah. All right. However, I think it's that's a lot less the case, and more the fact that a lot of things that a lot of Black men deal with in society, a lot of Black women don't care to even really want to hear about it or understand it. We just automatically just get shunned to the side because we're lesser than. And that's why you have a lot of women when it comes to Kevin Samuels. I'm sure you're going to ask me touch on that later, but that's why you have a lot of these women that are successful. They were the one that were calling, and they were the one that was reaching out to him to see how can I get that man at that level where I am, so we're equally yoked, if you will, financially. And that's what that whole thing was about. And a lot of women got that misconstrued when they thought that he was disrespectful. Yes, he may have been harsh a couple of times, but they knew exactly what he expected, what he demanded, but they still called in. So at the end of the day, it's not a situation where they just choose not to deal with the men that are not where they are financially. And we, what I'm saying. So with that said, I believe that it is not the case where we're spoiled. I think it's more of the case that we're just looked down upon to today's Black women that are
Okay.
successful. That is.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is we still all desire companionship as a woman.
Mhm.
And to say that we don't value men, I don't agree with that. I mean, we want the companionship. Men are still protectors. Traditionally has been providers financially, but also protectors. And we still desire, we still crave that. We want to feel like someone just has our back, because it is a huge burden to have to, as a woman, even though we can take care of certain women, can take care of everything, pay for everything, we don't want to. But then there's still the protection standpoint. Like we can't do that. We still want a man
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
Right. You may not.
Um,
You may not.
still
I'm sorry.
value
Go
there.
ahead.
And then
Right.
there's family. And for me, it goes way deeper. It's like how do you create multi-generational wealth without a family? You can't do that yourself. You can do okay, raising kids by yourself, having a business, maybe one generation or two, but multi-generational wealth, you can't do that without families and healthy relationships. So there's still that desire. And I don't think that we have any less value for men. I think we've done better over the years. I think, that Black women have excelled exceedingly more than any other
Good.
demographic in the last 20, 30 years. And
Absolutely.
and everyone else is not caught up to that. And it's hard. So there's gonna have to be a shift, and there has been a mental shift. But that desire to have a companion, someone to be their supporter and for a family, like that's still there. That'll never go away. A protector that will never
Right.
go
But
away.
the way you think, based on what you just expressed, I believe that you are the minority when it comes to today's modern Black women that are successful. All right, and to make sure there's a distinction. I'm not speaking about all Black women, just the one that's in a certain demographic, financially, right? That successful wise, that actually the value of a man, because they want to look, they're looking at the surface, tangible things such as finances, just accomplishment, to feel like they're equally yoked to actually take someone on. But I feel like, yes, when you look at other women in the Black community, that may not be as successful necessarily, they may value a man so much more than, let's say, the ones that are the one, the 1-2%. Just in my opinion, based on just what I've experienced.
Okay. I'm going to bring on Shamari. Shamari doesn't want to be on camera, but I am going to have him chime in. So let me add him to the stream. Do you have a photo, Shamari, that you can put on there? No worries. Shamari, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So thank you for joining. So tell us, the topic, why so many successful or professional Black men are single. What is your perspective on it?
So I'll definitely have a picture for you next time. So
Okay.
my apologies for that. So I kind of wanted to go to the part that we talked about, kind of quantifying how Black men are viewed as spoiled. I think every situation is different, but I think definitely if a woman meets a man, and I think oftentimes a woman can tell in the beginning what kind of man that person is. I think a lot of times there's red flags that are out there that women may choose to ignore. But I think if that person is not, an equal provider, or they're, you don't have a partner, you may be spoiling someone who is not worth it for you. And so I think if you find yourself someone who is, more of a credible man, and one with morals and values, that is, you won't find yourself in a situation where you're spoiling that person. That will actually be someone that's more of an equal to your level. So it'll be more of a two-way street. So I think I think maybe situations we've heard women say that they feel like they're spoiling a man is probably someone who is not providing things to them. And so they're not getting anything in return. And so that way they feel that they're spoiling someone. They probably have picked the wrong person, probably from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, so another part of that, the spoiling is that, we're giving everything, a lot of women give everything without having that commitment first, without having that title, without even having that discussion. And so a man is not even forced to or put in a situation where he feels like he should commit. So what is your perspective on that? Do you feel like, men have just so many options and they are being, when I say spoiled, they're just not requiring that a man commit before they do these things? And do you think that before a woman goes all out, this is for Marvin, you as well, do you think that a woman needs to wait before giving everything, before giving her body, before giving all of her time, before giving her commitment, before that conversation is even had?
Well, I would say this: when it comes to waiting, that doesn't exist in our world. All right. So meaning that we may wait for you, that individual per se, but we're not going to be waiting. We'll be, for the most part, most men will probably agree that they'll probably doing things on the side, and we still give you the attention and give you the time, but not waiting per se. When it comes to you, I don't believe in 2022 that that's going to definitely shift the needle for some men, possibly, but for overall, I think that's something that's very important in connecting with us. That's how we connect as men. Okay. In my opinion, opposed to, yes, mentally we could connect. However, when it comes to the physicality, because we're physical, you guys are mental. That's just how it's been, and that's how it will potentially continue to be. And if we're not necessarily physically connected at some point, right? I don't feel like at some point we will potentially, lose interest from a standpoint of continuing to be motivated to continue to put forth effort, in the potential, relationship, and that's just what I've seen, and that's just, from my experience and my opinion.
Okay. Shamari, you have anything?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the situation. I definitely don't believe in like a blanket rule where you just automatically wait and you just do that for every single person you meet. I think it's going to depend on the person. And I also think it's important that women stay up front what they're looking for. It might be a situation where waiting may be something that you find that is beneficial to you, but not just like a blanket rule that you put across, because the next husband or next person you meet may be somebody that you necessarily don't make that person wait, but you actually, it's really about the person that you choose. It's not anything that you can just go into it saying, well, I've had bad luck in this area, so the next guy I meet, I'm going to automatically make this person wait. And you haven't even met that particular person to be able to judge that individual's values.
Okay. So, Shamari, I'm going to ask you, are you married?
I am.
Okay. So, this is, and I always ask married men this question, and then I'll ask you on the other side, Marvin. But what is it that stood out to you for you to marry your wife? Like, what was it? Because I'm sure you dated before then. What was it that was kind of like, you know what, I want to marry this one as opposed to other ones?
Um, Actually, there was it's a couple of things, but my wife has she's a really down to earth person, has a really big heart, and is very family oriented, so that helped. But honestly, for myself, um, she never worried about marriage or when we were going to get married. She actually barely ever talked about it, and I actually found that to be attractive because I think she focused more on the relationship, where we were day to day versus where we were going to end up. And so it actually never actually came up. It was just something that we naturally, organically grew into that point. So that was refreshing for me, because I think a lot of times women, after a set amount of time, maybe after a year, they automatically shift into the conversation. And I think at the end of the day, if a man really cares about you, you'll know it. I think if a man really wants to take that next step with you, you're going to know it. You're going to see it from how he's talking to you, his actions. And it's not anything that you have to necessarily have those conversations. It's something that's very apparent. And that was very attractive. That was something I was not used to from past relationships, because it was like, okay, well, we reached our 6-month anniversary. Where are we going? And so it was like every milestone, you constantly had to have that conversation. So that was something that was I found to be refreshing, actually, for me.
How long you dated before you got married?
3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to, in a sense, I have to ditto that as well, because when my husband and I, when we actually started dating exclusively, I wasn't thinking marriage. I was thinking, okay, we'll just kind of see how it goes, maybe a year or so. Now, by this time, I'm like 40, so I'm in my 40s now. So, I was like, after a year or so, if we're still together and we see how it goes, then, perhaps I'll start talking about marriage or see where this goes. We ended up getting married like within a year, but I have to say, not bringing it up, not stressing that probably was a thing that was refreshing to him as well, because I wasn't stressing that. Um, what do you think? What do you think, Marvin? Do you
Well,
feel like
me,
you get that conversation when you have that conversation when you're dating women? Is that something that kind of puts you off, pushes you away, or how do you feel about it?
no, I've never been in a situation where I've been pushed away based on that conversation. I
Okay.
was engaged once in my life, never followed through with marriage. However, when it comes to marriage, for someone who's never been married, you guys are the experts on this. But I just feel like if I were in a situation like that, as long as I'm not pressured to do it, I think I'll, potentially, because if when a guy is into you, as Shamari said, you'll know it. We don't really, it's not something that we play around with, because men, we don't fall in love as you women do, as far as as often as you do. It's something that when it happens, it's rare, but it's something that we cherish and we hold very dear to us, because emotionally, we are not as strong as women. So when we get that point where we're vulnerable, it means a lot. And we do that anyway, especially when that's taken for granted. So it's something in which that she will know that we are really into her, and we don't play around, because we're into you. We invest everything, without thought. And when we're ready to get married, opposed to you saying anything or pressuring the situation, we will be more than happy to put that ring on the finger.
Okay. So again, so you're middle aged, mature now. How old were you, or what decade was it when you when you were married? Is something recent? Was it a while ago? When did you get?
A while
When did
ago.
you?
It was a while
I'm
ago.
sorry. When did you get engaged? And why didn't it go through? In your opinion?
Okay, so I believe, in retrospect, she just wanted to be married. And why I say that, because she got caught up in the wedding and forgot about the relationship. So the relationship took a hit. And, it got to the point where the wedding was coming closer. And, I was not comfortable moving forward with the marriage, and at the time, I was the one that was going to pay for everything. So it was a situation where this was before I had kids. So it was a situation, where I was like, you know, I can't take a chance and just wasting my time or my resources for this potential wedding when I don't feel comfortable even getting married, because the relationship was not what it was before I proposed. So when I approached her with that, we need to push this wedding back, because I'm not comfortable. She was like, she was all in or none. Either we do it or we don't. And of course, I took the latter. We don't. And within a year and a half, I saw her again. She was married.
Wow.
See, so I'm glad that was a decision that was a smart decision on my part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I would like to know, in this day and age, because dating is totally different than it was 15, 20 years ago. What is it for you, Marvin, as a single man, as a professional man? What is it that stands out to you as a woman? What kind of woman stands out to you that really grabs your attention?
Um, One that's pretty much, and when I say down to earth, I know it's a generic term, but someone that's comfortable with our own skin, and someone that actually, you know, gives back. Someone that cherishes, you know, people, in a sense that she has a heart. She recognizes, people that needs help. She recognizes the less fortunate. Someone like that, is more something of an intangible thing opposed to a physical thing. All right.
Mm.
I like to see, the type of personality trait that's very compassionate and very humble. But of course, if this particular woman that I'm speaking of is someone that I'm already attracted to, someone that I'm physically attracted to. So after that physicality is gone, I want to see that side to actually, make me feel like it's something that I want to invest, everything in, based on the type of person that she is. So those are things that stands out to me.
So there's a lot of talk now, and coaches and lifestyle specialists that talk about women being in tune with their feminine side. Like, women just are not as feminine as they used to be, because one, you do have women who are, as you said, in the boardroom, who are in very high powered positions. Not just feminine in like their dress, but something more than that. Have you found that that has been lacking
Yeah,
in a lot of
yeah, a lot of the sensuality is gone in a lot of these women today. You know what I mean? And it's just use intimacy as an example. That's pretty much because that's what it boils down to. From my experience, I don't find that a lot of women are as sensual as once I remembered. You know, they're more so, you know, this is like a microwave society we live in right now. You know what I mean? They're like us in a way where it's just you know, it's just, let's go ahead and get it done and boom, 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 it's done, opposed to the whole like the romantic aspect of what it once was, where, a lot of women seem like they just don't have time for that anymore. They just want to just either get to it or, or do something else. So that's what I found. I just don't see a lot of sensuality. And then with that aura, that exterior of that alpha woman, if you will, and that's the term we use, where you have these women that's in the boardroom that's doing very well financially in these high positions. They take that home as well. And they feel like that applies to their personal world as well, because they're running things here. They feel like they could run things here. And it takes an alpha male to nip that in the bud that, we're not going to blur those lines. So yes, the sensuality is gone. The femininity from based on what I've seen is gone. Not all women, but that's what I've seen in most successful women today.
Yeah. I don't know if you all have seen the video, but there was a video that came out like last week or so of Steve Harvey and his wife, Marjorie, where she walked in the room. She's a beautiful woman and she had on this outfit and she just kind of walked in, turned around, and Steve Harvey's mouth was like the whole time, just like she's just beautiful. And she's obviously a very feminine woman and she's very in tune into that. And so I just thought that was interesting when you said that. Shamari, how big of a role does femininity play in relationships, marriage, wife, dating, and all that?
I mean, it's huge. Obviously, femininity is the opposite of masculinity, so it's the opposite of what So we naturally are attracted to that. And I agree with Marvin. I think it's from what I hear, obviously, I hear that it's just not it's not as prevalent as it used to be. But I think it's just super important. It's just how we're naturally wired. So I can't say it enough. It's just super important, and all men are looking for this mostly, and it's something that we're actually craving, from a woman.
Okay. Cooking, cleaning, decorating the house, like all of that. How important is that these days?
For me, it's important, but I'm a little different. I actually, because times have changed, and I think women, are definitely more, successful in the professional world. A lot of their hours, they're having to work, just as many hours as men are. So for myself, I think it's important to have someone who understands that. And so in my situation, these responsibilities are shared. Not that I'm cooking a meal every night or what have you, but I do understand that, someone may not be feeling well. They may be tired. And so, I'm definitely willing to pitch in. So, I mean, it's important, but, I also have children. So I definitely, I have a son and a daughter. So I definitely want them to understand that it's important to be able to see, daddy be able to help out in these things. Definitely want my daughter to see this as well, because I don't think in today's society that any one person needs to do all the cooking and all the cleaning. I mean, it can be a 50-50 split. It can be a 70-30 split, 60-40. But I think that kind of helps to not have so much of like the responsibility on one person.
Okay. Marvin, how important is all that, those
Me,
traditional and women roles?
um, I've never had that. Of course, I've seen that, mom and dad. However, for me personally, it's not that important because I cook. I believe I cook very well. In addition to that, when it comes to cleaning, I mean, I'm a bachelor, so what bachelor places. If you remember, bachelor places aren't really we all right. You know what I mean? We have our place the way it is, but it's important though for, in my opinion, for a female to be able to just as long as she doesn't add to the mess, I want her to actually be able to say, look, this needs to be that. Take care of it. If you want to clean this, fix that, do it. That's fine. But I don't want anyone to. She has to definitely be a lot more tidier than me in a sense. So that makes a difference as far as women that cleans, but cooking not necessarily. The traditional roles from my mom and dad. Mom took care of everything inside the house. Dad took care of everything outside the house. That's how it was. Whether it be the car, the lawn, the grass. So that to me that would be ideal. But I doubt that exists today. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it does, but probably on a smaller scale. Like Shamari says, people are busy these days. Women are busy these days, and that's to be respected.
So if a woman is just cleaning, is just not her thing, and she has just as much stuff as you, everything else being cool, is that a deal breaker for you?
It's not a deal breaker, but she's gonna be the one, hire a housekeeper. That's gonna be your responsibility from a financial standpoint, because that's where you fell short. So go ahead and take care of that. You know what I mean? That's just how that would be my thing, honestly. I mean, but I would hope that the woman that I decide to marry, is not like that. She would go ahead and just take care of that particular piece.
Okay. So one of the other reasons that I think a lot of professional Black men are single is because they actually value marriage. And Marvin, you and I started talking about it a little bit, but a few months ago, I was reading an article on Cam Newton. He was talking about the reason why he didn't marry his fiance or the mother of his children, which there were 4 children, I believe they have. And he would mention, being on the road and, going to hotel rooms. There were women there. He said he didn't feel like he could be faithful because he just could not withstand the temptation. And and I interpret, even though he didn't say that, but he didn't say it, I saw that as he actually values marriage. So it's not a bad thing necessarily when you have a man who's like, okay, I'm not getting married because I don't know if I can be faithful or not. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's something that's prevalent in a lot of single men?
That was me. I understand where he's coming from, because that was me at one point. Because I knew that temptation was something that I chose not to avoid, opposed to being obligated to a situation where I would have to be a cheater, if you will. I didn't want that. So I didn't want to hurt. I didn't want to play with anyone's feelings. I didn't want to hurt anyone. So I chose to be single. Now, do a lot of men have that same thought process where they will be willing to stay single? I don't know, because there are a lot of men out here that's cheating as well. So I guess they didn't value that aspect of it. So they'd rather just go ahead and have their cake and eat it too. I didn't want to live that life. I wanted to ensure that when I decided to be with someone, they would get my all. So I understand where Cam is coming from, because I've had that experience. So yeah, so a lot of men out there today, I don't think they have that. I think a lot of men probably are just trying to have their cake and be greedy and get caught up in that whole mix up.
And Shamari, I know you said, I know you're married, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it again, it kind of comes down to the situation. Obviously Cam Newton's in a situation where he's in a higher tax bracket. And obviously, he's an athlete too. So, he's making the money and he's an athlete. So, but I have to respect him for the fact that, he did take marriage seriously, and it's not anything that you need to do unless you're ready for it, because in the vows, they do say to death do you part. And so if you take that seriously, that's really, at least from the vow standpoint, that's the only way that's intended to be, to end. And so you don't want to go into a situation like that when you know that you aren't ready for it mentally, sexually, or what have you. So it's a big responsibility and something that you actually have to work at. It is, you have to put the same amount of attention into a marriage like you do anything else, any other relationship you have in this world. So I applaud him for being honest about that, because I don't think most men would be that honest. So I agree.
Okay. Now, Marvin, the older that we get, the more quote unquote stuck in our ways we get. Do you look forward to getting married? Are you open to getting married? Do you want to get married? Or are you okay not ever getting married?
I would like to get married. Yes, I would like to get married, but I'm also okay with not getting married as well. So it's one of those situations where I'm not going to force a square into a circle. I refuse to do that. Okay.
Mhm.
I think many marriages are like that. I'm sure we've all seen marriages out and about. You can just tell they don't like each other. You know what I mean? They just did it for whatever reason, but they're just they're going through the motions. And I don't want to be that couple. I don't want to be in that situation. And as I get older, you constantly hear my parents, especially, when are you gonna get married? Da, 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 da. And that's how people get caught up into like forcing a situation, and because no one wants to die alone, right? They always say, what if you get sick? What if you get hurt? You need someone to take care of you. I don't want that to be the reason I get married because I feel like I'm doing it you know, just to have someone. It's almost like to me, it's not authentic. And I rather put up the resources to hire someone to take care of me if I were to get ill, opposed to just being with someone that I don't like. I can only imagine what it's like to live in a house with someone that you don't like. You know what I mean? Someone that you don't really, you don't have any intimate feelings towards, someone that you really hate to even speak with. Because I think what's underestimated a lot is the liking someone. You have to like someone, and a lot of people, I've seen people that are couples that they don't like each other, and I see what the outcome is, and I just don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge in my relationship that I have now, that I really like. My husband and I, we're really friends. Like, we get
Hmm.
along, we're silly. Even though we don't project that maybe like outside, like in
Hmm.
the public, but behind closed doors, like we are super, super, super silly. But we're
Yeah.
friends, and we talk, we have conversations, and that's what I really love about our relationship, is that we're friends. And it's not just love. The love is there, but that friendship,
Right.
that's key.
It's, it's,
For
it's
sure.
crazy how you can love someone and not like them. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw that with my parents. My parents were married for over 50 years, but it was not, I had, relatively, I had the stability. When I looked at that relationship, I was kind of like, that's not the relationship that I want. Like, I don't want my husband talking to me like that. Like, I don't want to be angry at my husband like that. It just was not, to me, wasn't healthy. And I wish that before my father left this earth that he was happy. And he wasn't. Neither one of my parents were happy. And I hate that. So yeah, I think that's really, really key.
Let,
Um,
let- let me ask you both a question though. You guys, you are married, you have children, right? And I know that the stats for married couples with children, that the kids have a lot more positive outlook on life, based on the stats that have been shown with kids with two parent household. But if you're in a situation where, let's say, you don't get along, you argue, or you have these disagreements that is constant, and your kids are seeing that unfold in front of them every time you guys either have an argument, disagreement, or don't even speak to each other. Is it still something that you would still stick with, regardless of what you're going through, just so that the kids have a two-parent household for you guys to continue to go on and be unhappy, if you will, with each other, just so you can have that outcome for your children?
yeah. I would stick in there for a really long time. And I say
Mhm.
that because I have three kids all together, and I have a 20-year-old, and she was born into, basically, I was a single parent. And I saw how not having two parents in the household, like I had the benefit of having. I
Mhm.
saw how that affected her. I saw how that affected her mentally, her confidence, all of that. She's already a statistic, being born into a single parent household. And it was hard. And, it's hard for
Mhm.
me, it's hard for her. But I think because I saw that, I think I would hang in there for a really long time. And I can't
Mhm.
say, it depends what the issues are, how bad it is. If we tried to work it out, did we go to counseling? I'm not an arguer. Neither is my husband. So there's not going to be like fighting is screw. Like, that's not our
Mhm.
personality. That's not how we resolve things anyway. So it wouldn't be
Right.
that. Wouldn't see that. But I would hang in there for a really long time if it got bad. And probably until they were out of the house, to be honest with you, only because I saw what impact it had on my daughter.
Okay. What say you, Shamari?
For me, absolutely not. I will not stay in a situation for the sake of the kids. And the reason for that is, I really feel that, kids are, obviously a great byproduct of, a union, of a marriage, but they will grow up and have their own lives, and, eventually they will leave. And so I've heard of a lot of situations where people have invested that time so that for the sake of the kids, but life is short. So you've spent, 10, 15 years, making it look a certain way for your kids. And now that's kind of a distant memory because now they're kind of moved on and done their own thing. And that whole time you may have been in a situation where you're not miserable. For myself, I want my kids to understand that I'm actually in the marriage because I'm happy. I'm in love, and that is why I chose to be married and why I choose to stay married. So that's the message that I want them to see. At any given point, things are not working out. Hey, you try. I'm not saying you leave as soon as you see trouble,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's a situation, Marvin, like you mentioned, where it's we're miserable, it's not working, and the kids see that, that's just something that you kind of have to explain to them that this is not going to work out, and unfortunately these things happen, but I'm not willing to do that.
That's interesting. And I wonder if that's a difference between men and women. I don't know. I'm only speaking for myself and I don't speak for women. But yeah, I think because I've seen it on the other end, again, I would hang in there for a really long time. And it wouldn't be a situation where it was, a lot of arguing and screaming and, all of that. But yeah, I would hang in there for a long time. So again, I don't know if that's a woman thing, male thing, or what. So one of the other reasons why I say a lot of professional Black men are single, and it's really not just men, but I've been long saying that for years now, that Black men and women weren't taught or not taught to be husband and wives, that we're taught how to survive. Meaning, like, if we have a need, um, and we see that that particular person can fill a need and help us or elevate us, then we'll marry them or we'll be with them. We're like in survival mode. That's why, you see a lot of toxic men who may prey on, women who have money, who have it all, because they're like, oh, well, I don't need to do anything else and they can help elevate me. I think we get in survival mode a lot of times. So, and we haven't been taught how to be in relationships. So many people have come from single parent homes or broken homes that we haven't even seen what good, healthy relationships look like. Even being in a two-parent home, I didn't see what a healthy relationship looked like. So, what do you guys think about that? Like the survival mode. Do you think that plays an impact? Do you think there's trauma that that's not been addressed, and we're just trying to survive and make it, and we're failing at it?
Well, you can take it all the way back to slavery because, during slavery, Black men were basically customarily removed from their, families and communities. So the function in a family life was often more biological than it was social or financial, right? So you have a situation where conditions, may have significantly undermined like the formation of marriage and, permanent unions, and the leadership roles of Black men and their families. It goes all the way back there. So, the conditioning comes all the way back to present. So a lot of Black families, the men, we had to learn to be that, that leader within our union. In addition to the fact that a lot of women too, when it comes to us communicating and and being one, that was a very difficult thing to actually transition to based on what transpired in our history. So a lot of people, no one ever really speaks about that, but that's really big as well to how we were back then and how we are today. Because and that's why you have so many contentious situation where you have the man is trying to lead, the woman right now is like, nah, you ain't leading, I could do this because I'm here and there. You have that serious clash between the two based on a lot of things that has occurred, from back then as well.
Okay. Shamari?
Yeah. So also, I mean, yes, this all began in slavery times, where the head of household, the black man, was separated from his family. And unfortunately, it's been perpetuated throughout the years. I mean, even when you start looking at, back in the 80s, the war on drugs and the mass incarceration of black people, black men especially, put a lot of families in situations where the black man wasn't present. And so I think that there's naturally there is a little bit of trauma from that naturally, that's kind of gone down through the generations, where I think that women may find themselves in situations where they have gone without a man, and then they find a situation where they're settling, right? Anything that kind of looks or kind of feels or resembles what they're looking for, they're just settling for that, right? And they're not actually inspecting the whole process. It's almost like, if you're going to buy a car, and you definitely want the tires and the engine, and the women may just stop at the tires and the engine, and they're not necessarily looking at the doors and the windows. So you really need that whole process to be done, so you really have the full car. And I think that's just from everything I kind of mentioned.
Right, right. And a lot of that too, to touch on that, there's a lot of distrust that's formed with that, that lack of, communication. Because you have, like, right now, you have black women who feel that they're men, supposed to have a dominant role, right? You need to be a leader, you need to be this, you need to, be a provider, everything. But at the same time, in the same breath, she may also be inclined to exhibit behaviors that are, opposed to his dominance, right? And her subordinates. So you have that clash as well. The consistent argument of gender roles within these relationships. And a lot of that is based on history. No one ever speaks about that, but I believe that plays a part as well.
Okay. All right. We're going to kind of wrap it up, but I do have a question for both of you. It's going to be in the form of a hypothetical.
Sure.
You both, well, actually, Marvin, you have a son and a daughter, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Shamara, you said you have a son and a daughter.
That's right.
So in dating and relationships, here's a hypothetical. Your son is dating or seeing somebody, has somebody that he likes, and he's gone out maybe with this person maybe like 4 or 5 times. They're not in a relationship, but the girlfriend, quote friend, not girlfriend, friend girl, she gets sick.
Mm-hmm.
And the boy, the son, I guess, wants to go and bring her some cough medicine, some tea, a meal, or something like that. Would you encourage that, even though they're not in a relationship? Do you think it would be too soon after knowing someone 3, 4 weeks? Is it too soon to do that? Or would you say that he would need to wait?
They're just sick. They're bringing them out. I feel like it's nothing wrong with actually attending to that person, if they're not feeling well, because I feel like, the tables are turned. They would want the other to do the same. I believe it's not showing anything but a form of friendship, a form of someone that you could depend on. So if nothing else, moving forward in that, potential relationship, they have something that they actually put in place as far as foundation, that you're going to be someone that's going to be dependable. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If anything, I think that's something that's actually going to actually benefit the relationship, if it were to progress into something different.
Okay. And before you answer, Shamara, here's why I bring it up, because that was the situation with my daughter a few weeks ago. She was sick, and she had a friend, and they didn't know each other that long. There was no title to the relationship. And he, came and brought her something. I think it was like tea or maybe something to eat, or soup or something like that. And she told me about it, and I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like that's a keeper. That's great. And so my husband was there. So I asked my husband, and I was like, what about you? Would you have done that if we were in the same status of our relationship? And he was like, no. He was like, if there's no title, you get nothing. He was like, I'd help you now because, you're my wife. But he was like, if there's no title, I'm not doing that for you. Like after like a couple weeks, it's like, no, I'm not doing it. Maybe I'll phone call just to check on you, but he wouldn't have done that. And so I thought that was very, very interesting. And I was like, well, damn, like if that's how men think, or if that's how, boys are being taught, then we're screwed, like for our younger generation. So I just thought that was interesting. So I just wanted to know like what your opinion was on that. Shamari?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, although titles are great because titles sometimes signal a commitment, I think at the end of the day, it's all about being, doing the right thing. And so for me, the fact that you know me and you know of me, I would have never wanted something bad to happen to anybody. And if I'm in a position where I can help, regardless of how big or small, I want to be able to do that. So I definitely would have done that. I've been and just for the record, I've been in situations just many years ago when I was dating. I was dating someone for 1 week and went over to their house and I fell ill, had food poisoning situation. So you never know when you'll be in that situation where you need help from somebody that necessarily does not have the title. We did not have a title. We were just seeing each other. And they actually helped me get back on my feet. So I always have the kind of concept of, I'm going to treat people how I would want to be treated if I was in that situation. So I would definitely help that person out and provide them with tea or whatever they needed.
Okay. And so you would suggest that your daughters do the same thing, even though they're not in a relationship?
Well, that's a little different.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it? Okay, do tell.
Okay. Okay, so the reason why I kind of like, because when a man is attracted to a woman, he'll go all out, right? Especially if he really likes her. So that gesture of bringing her the tea is just something that's innate in us, as men, from a standpoint of, whereas you have your husband that said he wouldn't do that because it would have to be another level for him to do that. But I think most men, if they're attracted, they would just automatically respond that way. Now, when it comes to women, because as men, knowing how we can possibly be, we may look at that as, okay, yeah, she really likes me. But the fact that how many men, though, is going to value that as something special, opposed to they just take it for granted and, leverage that and take full advantage of it. That's would be my concern if the tables were turned. My daughter.
Okay. But Shamari, it sounds like for you would, I don't know. I'm gonna let you answer that. For your daughter, would you maybe you say it differently?
I mean, I'm fine if my daughter, if the person's in need of help and she does it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with that. Now, if that's a different conversation though, still, because it is not. It's more instinctual, to Marvin's point, for men to do that. So if it's more, I may have the conversation as if it's more of it looks like it's more of an emergency situation. I'm okay with you helping, but that is just something that we're naturally trained to do as men, instinctually. But I have no problem if my daughter did that. Again, I do want both of my kids, son and daughter, to just overall do the right thing in each situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, we can go on and on, and we will. We will talk about a plethora of things in the weeks to come. Next week, I am excited to bring on our guest, Felicia Kay. She is a luxury love expert, and we're going to be talking about interracial dating. Black women are on the low end as far as dating outside of their race. They date the least outside of their race. Black men, they date more outside of their race. 15% of Black men date outside of race or marry outside of their race, as opposed to 7% of Black women who do the same thing. So we're going to talk about interracial dating. A lot of the women that I do speak with, they all say that they're open to interracial dating, even though they have not done it. So definitely tune in next week to have that conversation. I'm looking forward to that. Thanks again for Marvin for coming on. Shamari, it wasn't planned, but it's definitely a welcome guest on here in your input, and I appreciate all that. Again, if you want more information about our services, just want to hear just about what we do at Platinum Connections. The website's at the bottom, matchmakingattorney.com. Book a session. We'll get in touch with you. Just to have that better dating experience. We will see you guys next week, same time, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good evening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Pleasure speaking with you, Shamari.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.